August 9, 2010. Malibu Canyon, California. Hikers trekking through rugged terrain stumble upon something no one ever expected. In the middle of the dry wilderness, miles away from any road, a skull lies beneath tangled brush. Nearby, bones scattered across the ground. Authorities confirm what the family of Mitrice Richardson had feared for nearly a year. She was gone. But how she ended up here remains one of the most haunting and controversial mysteries in California's history. Some say this was a tragic accident. Others insist she was murdered. And many believe the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department has never told the full story. Tonight, we dive deep into the disturbing disappearance of Mitrice Richardson. Mitrice was 24 years old, beautiful, ambitious, full of charisma. A graduate of California State University, Fullerton, with a degree in psychology, she worked as an intern at a mental health facility and at the same time danced as a part-time entertainer. She was known for her infectious smile, her magnetic personality, and her deep compassion for others. Her mother, law.This Sutton, once described her daughter as a light in every room she entered. Friends said Mitrice had a mix of book smarts and artistic energy, someone destined for more. But in September of 2009, things started to shift. Family noticed Mitrice behaving differently. Her social media posts grew erratic, filled with strange references to spiritual awakenings and cryptic phrases. She wrote things like, "God is speaking through me. I am on this earth for a reason." Her mother was concerned, but law.This couldn't predict that in just weeks, her daughter would vanish under mysterious and deeply suspicious circumstances. September 16, 2009. Mitrice drove from her home in South Los Angeles to Malibu, a nearly 50-mile drive. Her destination? Jeffrey's Restaurant, an upscale spot perched along Pacific Coast Highway. She parked her car, wandered inside, and began ordering items she couldn't seem to pay for. Waiters recalled her being polite, but odd. She sat with strangers, inserted herself into conversations, spoke about settling debts with sex, and made comments that left people uneasy. The manager eventually called 911. In the call, the employee said, "We have a guest who's acting bizarre. She can't pay her bill. We're concerned." Deputies from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department soon arrived. They searched her car. Inside, they found her purse, her ID, her phone, and even some marijuana. But here's where the first controversy begins. Mitrice was arrested for defrauding an innkeeper and for possession. But deputies had a choice. They could have cited her and let her go, or they could take her in. They chose the latter. At Jeffrey's, employees noted she didn't seem intoxicated. She seemed mentally unstable. Some say deputies should have taken her to a hospital for a psychiatric evaluation. Instead, they handcuffed her and drove her to the Lost Hills Sheriff's Station. At around 10 p.m., Mitrice was booked. The deputies called her mother, law.This, who immediately asked if her daughter would be released. The deputy assured her, "Don't worry, we'll keep her here until morning. It's not safe for her to be out at night." But hours later, at 12:28 a.m., Mitrice Richardson was released. Alone, no phone, no purse, no car, just into the pitch-black night of Malibu Canyon, one of the most dangerous wilderness areas in California. Her mother later recounted, "I begged them not to release her. She didn't know the area. She had no way to call anyone. They told me they wouldn't, and then they did." The sheriff's department claimed she was calm, lucid, and not a danger to herself. But others, including her family, believed she was suffering from a full-blown mental health crisis. Within hours, she was gone. That night, a man named Bill Smith, living in the nearby mountains, reported a strange sighting. Around 6:30 a.m., he saw a young black woman in his backyard. She looked disoriented. When he stepped outside, she vanished into the canyon. Authorities believe this was the last confirmed sighting of Mitrice alive. Her family pushed for an immediate search. But delays, bureaucratic red tape, and a lack of urgency plagued the case. Sheriff's deputies told law.This her daughter was probably out partying or just blowing off steam. But law.This knew better. She said, "My daughter was not a runaway. She was in crisis. They failed her." Search teams combed the canyons. Helicopters scoured the mountains. Bloodhounds tried to track her scent. Nothing. For months, no sign of Mitrice. Just whispers, theories, and growing outrage. August 2010. Nearly a year later, hikers exploring Malibu Canyon stumbled upon human remains. A skull, vertebrae, and bones scattered across the ground. Clothing nearby in tatters. Dental records confirmed the worst. Mitrice Richardson had been found. But the discovery only deepened the mystery. Her body was located in an inaccessible ravine 8 miles from where she was last seen. Forensic experts noted her remains appeared relatively intact, unusual for the harsh elements and predators in the canyon. And then, the chain of custody controversy. Instead of waiting for the coroner, sheriff's deputies collected and moved her remains themselves. This is considered a serious violation. In doing so, evidence may have been contaminated or lost forever. Authorities concluded there was no evidence of foul play. They claimed Mitrice likely wandered into the canyon, stripped off her clothes, and died of exposure. But her family and many in the community reject this explanation. Why was she released in the middle of the night against her mother's request? Why were her remains mishandled by deputies? Instead of the coroner, why did the sheriff's department minimize her mental health crisis from the start? Civil rights groups pointed to systemic negligence. Some suspect Mitrice may have been a victim of assault or homicide. Others questioned whether her death was covered up to protect the department from liability. Even today, no one agrees on what truly happened. Her father, Michael Richardson, has said, "I don't believe my daughter just wandered off. Someone knows what happened." In the aftermath, Mitrice's family fought tirelessly for accountability. Lawsuits were filed. Vigils were held, and the case became a rallying cry for reform in how law enforcement handles mental health crises. Her story is now used in training programs for deputies. It is discussed in debates about race, policing, and negligence. But for law.This Sutton, none of this replaces her daughter. She once said, "I sent my daughter to Malibu alive. They returned her to me in a body bag. I will never stop fighting for the truth." Mitrice Richardson's story is more than a tragedy. It is a case that forces us to ask, who do we trust to protect the most vulnerable? Was this the result of mental illness and poor decisions? Or was Mitrice failed by a system that never saw her as someone worth saving? Until the truth is uncovered, her case will remain one of the most chilling, debated, unsolved mysteries in recent history. This story is not just about one young woman. It's about every family who has ever felt betrayed by the very system meant to protect them. If you believe Mitrice Richardson deserves justice, if you believe her story must never be forgotten, join us by subscribing to this channel. We tell the stories they don't want you to hear. And sometimes your voice, your comment, your share can be the spark that keeps cases like this alive. Subscribe now and help us shine a light into the darkness.